What is up, Entree fam? Weird thing just happened. So I already did the stream, literally at on time. Supposed to go to Facebook and all that. Went to Facebook. I at least know. I guess it didn't send it over to YouTube, which should have been the primary thing. I don't know, but I apologize. So if you've been hanging around or you were around before and it didn't work, I have no idea why it didn't work. So here I am to do it again. so yeah, man, welcome to the Friday Live. What the hell? Restream.io dot don't work. Shoot, I'm like, seriously? So whatever, neither here nor there. We out here in these streets, cuz. So welcome to the Friday Live, where I was talking about the Canon M50, not the M50, but the Canon R5, R6, freaking R17. Come up with why they come up with these numbers though? Why? Who comes up with it? Whatever. And then about some live streaming tips, because I'm seeing a lot more people needing help, wanting help with live streaming. So I want to talk about how to be more comfortable on camera. I also want to talk about like if you're an introvert for real, like how do you deal with this? This is kind of weird. How do you still show up and be yourself? And whether you believe it or not, I am an introvert also. You are not alone. I'm not gonna sing Michael Jackson because everybody still feels some kind of way about Michael, but it's kind of one of them songs like and you can't forget it. So it's like, I don't know if that makes it timeless or just catchy. Neither here nor there. We're going to be talking and hanging out because exclusion does not mean, or seclusion does not mean exclusion. So while we are all in the house as introverts, we're having the grandest time of our lives. Check in on your friends. I do every day. When I talk to my friends and I'm like extroverted check-in, this with like we're calling on behalf of introverts everywhere to make sure that y'all are okay. So check on your extroverted friends. They are probably not doing so hot, so it means a lot of FaceTiming, a lot of extroverted activities and stuff like that, or for as long as possible spending time with your loved ones and close ones and things like that. So let's jump into it. So a couple things, like I wanted to do this here on Fridays if I can get back to it, which I technically was supposed to be doing like a live streaming event this week, like today and tomorrow. That's going to be rescheduled. So I don't know when, but I know I'll at least have some time coming up. And then we're doing the Friday live days, the Entree Chats Daily Morning Show. Why I do the morning? I don't know, because I sound like the Allstate man in those AM hours. So should have just been the late show with Diana Gladney or something like that, where I'm alive, I am well, I probably took a nap and had something to eat, and so the world is great and everything is well. At those moments, somehow I came up with the morning thing, but I had that before, like 2 years ago, just like an audio only. So I'm still trying to like navigate all of that right now. And like I said, I can't get Restream to do YouTube and Facebook and all the other things. It's just having a problem. It goes to Facebook fine and everybody else, but YouTube is just like whatever. So I want to make sure this is the second and the third time I think even that it's not worked on YouTube, and we just can't have that. So real quick, I wanted to show something I had. Like I said, I wanted to do a Friday like family game night, Entree family game night. And so this is what I had in mind. I wanted to do, am I showing stuff? Hopefully you didn't see no streaming info. Don't y'all hack my channel, guys. Darn it, this is not the time. I'm gonna have to go through and change all that. So if you're familiar with, what do you call it? You don't know Jack, the game? It was a game, like they have these jackpot games. I don't know which one. I've played a couple before, but what it is that it lets you have where, like, you watching this on the computer or maybe your TV, okay? Because I am TV worthy out here in these streets, okay? But no, you watch it on like your computer or TV, and then you have your phone. And so, like, I'll say, okay, here's the room code, which is like 4 letters. And then you put your name in, and then you can play on your phone. So I'll host the game here on the channel. It'll probably be Friday evenings, like we're doing this tonight. And then we can have like a Friday family game night online. So again, exclusion does not mean being secluded, or being secluded. Wait, how did I say that before? Being secluded does not mean being excluded. So they have these jackpot games, and you can let me know if you're watching this live or in the comments. Is that jackboxgames.com. But some of these games, I've played them before on different live streams, which is this is not going to become a gaming channel, but it is something to keep morale up for right now, where they got these party packs that are really fun. And so this one is for free right now. I almost thought about doing it tonight, but I don't know how I would do that. I haven't tested it, which is something I would want to do. So it could be early next week we at least do Drawful, because they're giving that away for like the next 3 weeks. And then some of these other party packs, but it lets you play games live. It don't cost y'all nothing. I'd have to pay for the game actually, but that's not that big of a deal, as long as we keep getting paid out here in these streets. So, but that's the thing. Then we also have where you had the Canon R5, like we talked about that before, and R6, which I'm kind of looking at Canon like, y'all sure picked quite the dandiest time to go ahead and be talking about this rumored best of the world camera in the worst freaking time right now. It's just like people are either slower on their money, or it's like a reduced income and stuff like that. It's like, y'all gonna come out with this $4,000 camera. When? Why? You know what I'm saying? So it's supposed to come potentially in July. This 8K 30 frames per second camera that has all these amazing features, no crops on it whatsoever, and just amazing, right? Not for most of us. I'm thinking, like, if I had to put a price tag on it though, for real, I say like $3,400 or $3,500 is what this camera's going to drop. So if you were in the neighborhood and in the, you know what I'm saying, like the buying area still, where you wanted to, especially like I said, as we get into some of these live streaming tips, where you wanted to just have like a good all-arounder camera that you can take for photos, that you can do some video stuff with, and live streaming as well, and the Canon R or RP is something that you wanted, then those cameras are going to drop. We're already seeing, I saw Think Media, they announced on their posts, like in the YouTube feed or whatever, that I think it's Canon refurbished, are now like, they dropped the price on the SL2 and the M50. DSLRs are not a camera that I recommend to anybody, even like Panasonic, even though they're like the best, probably one of the best video cameras right now, is not a camera that I honestly recommend. It ain't all that. Henry, what's up, Henry? Good to see you, Samsung. I can't be looking at another camera. I just got the M50. Henry, I am here to tell you, yes, you can. So, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. No, but it's like, sure you can, Henry. I looked at the M50 and then I bought a second M50. And not only did I get a second M50, but not too long afterwards, I was like, we need more. Let's get the A6400. And not only do we need more, we need batteries, accessories, and lenses and all the things for a new camera. So, of course you can, Henry. Who says such things? But no, like, seriously, I get it. It's hard. It is hard not to buy more. It just is. I promise you right now, even with everything, because I'm choosing like to take the belief things will get better. While bad times can tend to bring out the worst in people, and like people that already went mentally already there, it can tend to make, and then you add on fear on top of that, it can make them act weird. Hell, even if, like I used to tell them at work, let me tell y'all something real quick, and I see some comments. I'm gonna hit that, I promise you. Let me tell y'all a secret about me. I am not the person for freak out situations. I was at work one time. It was like maybe like 2-3 years ago, maybe like 3 years ago. And there wound up being like this fire that broke out in the building that I worked in. And when I say my hood will fall out at the wrong times, I am not the person for those freak out situations. Like, I worked on the 4th floor at a very, you know what I'm saying, corporate-y building, working at the bank, right? And this fire, like, I'm smelling something, and my spider sense goes off, and I'm like, not today, Satan, not today. I will run out of here and leave everything. Okay, I will not, I'm not going to be on the news time. Will say, I can't believe it happened. No, you won't even be able to find me. I'll be gone. And so I'm smelling something, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell is this smell. And it smelled weird, like, you know, like the difference between something that could be an electrical fire, whereas if something is burning, this kind of smelled like more of an electrical kind of thing, but like some weird, it didn't smell like something was set on fire. But either way, it don't smell right. And I'm looking at my friend. I'm like, Janice, you smell that? She's like, yeah, I kind of do. I'm like, hey, man, I'm telling y'all, ain't enough black people in here for me to, for me to get the verification points that I need. I ain't for me to be on the news. I'm not finna be on the news. I'm telling you that right now. And so that would be like the joke. And then it's like, I was like, oh, it'd be crazy if like all of a sudden they just like fire marshal everybody out of the building. And I'll tell y'all, like in 30 seconds, the fire alarm start going off. Then the security guard comes online. It's like, no, it's fine. Now these are rent-a-cops. I ain't saying the certification nowhere. These are rent-a-cops. And he just like, no, everything's fine. I'm like, Ted, I'm not listening to you because you don't know nothing and all you got is a flashlight. Brother, we are not safe with you, okay? And I'm like, okay, hey, I'm talking to my friend Janice. I'm like, Janice, I'm telling you, if it's a fire, I'm out of here. I'm not playing. And so they tell us sit back down. Then our director kind of dude shows up and he's like, no, everybody off the floor right now. I was gone. I ain't check on, like, you have work friends. I ain't check on nobody. I was gone. So like, it's this, and I promise you, I'm gonna get to the comments, but I gotta tell you the rest of this story. And so like, I go and it's like, we are like, it's a bunch of people. And it's like, again, I'm on the 4th floor. And so you got these winding steps or whatever. Now, God forgive me, it's this girl that I was cool with and I love her. She's a great person. She is a very big woman, okay? And it's hard for her to walk, and I get that. She placed in front, like it's like 85 people behind her, and she's like the first person, and how that happened, I don't know. And so it's this lady, older lady, Eddie, next to me. And I'm like, Eddie, I'm like, you've been through one of these before. Now it's just slow walk down the steps. It's slow. And so we just walk, and I'm just like, hey, man, Eddie, it's going to be all right? You've been through, like, these fire drills before, because at the time I was new, I had been through no fire drills, and I'm just like, we're going to be all right? And I'm freaking out. Like, I'm starting to get Whitney Houston lip sweat, all of that. And she's like, yeah, it's going to be fine. And I'm just walking, and so this girl that's in front of us, again, super heavy set, not able to walk really well. It's just like, I'm ready to karate chop and judo chop everybody and get the hell off these steps. I'm not even playing. and so I'm walking. It's about 30 seconds before we get now to the end, and it's just like, but by the time we got from the 4th to the 2nd floor, the 2nd floor was just like smoldering, like white, thick smoke, can't see anything. And by the time we get out, I'm ready to kiss the cement, because I'm like, I love the person that I'm talking about that was the very large woman, but I'm about ready to kick somebody in the back of their throat and just jump over these rails. I just felt every kind of ninja ounce of every TV show I ever saw superhero just come out of me in that moment. So I am not the person for, in an emergency situation, be like, I'm going to be the one to keep everybody. No, I'm the one that's going to get away, and then I'll call back later. Hey, y'all cool? Just letting y'all know. It's like, shoot. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, I am not your girl. I'm not the one. So it's just like, I'm telling you, it's when it comes to certain things, you know who you round when it comes to those. So Henry saying, in the neighborhood, that camera, in the neighborhood, ? That camera isn't going to be on the same in the same continent. Talking about the R5 and R6. No, it's not. But some people are willing to drop $3,500 to $4,000 on a camera if it makes sense. I cannot see anybody that's associated on this channel for real. It's probably like 0.5% of people that are subscribed to the channel that maybe even would buy that camera. So like, Henry, yeah, it's not in our neck of the woods. It is in a whole woods somewhere on a whole other continent, like Henry's saying. So I feel you on that one. Cindy did it. Good to see you. Glad you're here. So I'd just be happy to learn how to use my M50 LOL. I feel you. It is more to this little camera than what meets the eye, which is why, I cranked out that 30-part series for the M50. That is just for the video side, though. That's the kicker. This is just for the video side, and I only talked about a couple lenses. I never really got heavily into adapting lenses on it and things like that, but When it comes to like camera stuff, it's really only those 3 pillars. And I started the series on just like the camera basic series and stuff, like helping you to get more familiar with the things. I honestly just need to edit the rest of those videos because they were recorded when the first ones came out. So it's just like, it's all already recorded. It just needs to be edited. And obviously I'll have time to do it now. But it's really only 3 things when it comes to doing videos. It's what you have, the aperture or the f-stop, which these 3 things are the exposure triangle. If you can learn these 3 things, you'll be fine. So it's not in any specific order that I'm saying these, but I'll probably get into that in just a little bit. So you have the aperture, which is like that F number that you'll see on the screen, the shutter speed, and then which is like, looks like a fraction, so 1/50th or 1/60 or whatever. And then you have ISO, which can range anywhere from 100 up to like 25,000 something or another. And so if you can figure out those and learn that exposure triangle, those 3 things, you're not doing any one thing. It's like an equilateral triangle. So you're not doing any 3 things. It's literally just like how your hands are. At one point, they should be somewhat equal, but it's not. You're not making any changes without something else also being changed. So what I mean by that is that all of those different things can affect light, or they can do something to affect light or the light of a situation, or how bright or dark something is. So shutter speed also deals with motion blur. So if you make that number too low, then it starts to look really weird, really trippy. Like if you ever think of a movie where somebody's on drugs or they're freaking out, kind of a thing, and it's really slow, druggish kind of thing, then that's usually along with other effects. But you can kind of do that in camera just by making the shutter speed really slow. But the lower that number is, the brighter the overall video can become, but your motion starts to look weird. Just like I'm waving my hands now, it's a normal motion blur. It looks nothing special. But if I slowed this shutter speed down, it'll start looking really crazy, like you'll see 12 of my hands. You know what I'm saying? It'll be super slow. It'll be crazy. If I make that number really high, the image gets darker on the camera. But now it looks like, like I have, like you can't see anything. It just is so sharp. You can't see any motion blur whatsoever. And so if you can learn what each thing does, just like I just broke down shutter speed, okay, aperture deals with blurry background. But it also, depending on how you move that number, can make something brighter or darker. And ISO, it deals with lighting as well, makes an image brighter or darker. Once you got your shutter speed set and locked in, you're not going to change that for the most part. Once you have your aperture set, you probably won't change that for the most part. So the only other thing that is a part of that triangle that you probably would change is going to be the ISO. So it's just about knowing, if I change this, what's going to happen? Or if I change that, what's going to happen? And right now is a good opportunity with a lot of extra time just to get familiar with playing with your camera and seeing what happens. You can take a string, a necklace, or whatever, and just swing it back and forth and just make settings on your camera and see, if I change this, what happens? What do you notice happens on the screen? Does the screen get darker? Does the screen get brighter? Does it look weirder? Does it look like you can't quite put your finger on it, but it does look kind of weird? Like, what's happening? So that's really all it kind of bogs down to when it comes to like learning camera stuff, for sure. And so like if you can learn those 3 things though, everything else becomes extra. And so it, like, again, when I'm saying that, it can sound a little foreign, and it's just like, or that went over my head, and I get that. But change one thing. Don't change a bunch of stuff. So it's like trying to cook simple something. If you make that heat too high, what's going to happen to the food? Is it just going to cook faster, or is the water just going to boil faster, or is it going to burn something? So with video, it's kind of like a temperature. I want it to be like this kind of a look. I don't need all of that behind me extremely bright. I want my face well lit, and I'm not worried about like the corners and stuff. So to can get this continual look, what do I need? What does it require? That kind of a thing. So that's kind of how that works. So Cindy, you're saying, yes, thank you. I have used settings from one of your videos, but I think it was my lens. So that's another factor, which is a great point. Also, it's like if you're doing something, so like this is a 35 millimeter lens, maybe about 3-4 paces away or something like that. And people are asked like, is that a pre-recorded video or what is that? Or like, how do you get that to do the live stream where it's blurry in the background? It's very different if I put a kit lens on there, because again, there are also things that affect this, which I really should go ahead and edit that Camera Basics series and start dropping those out, which I will make a reminder to do that since I'll have some extra time this weekend. It's very different. Like when you zoom in, again, do simple stuff. If you have settings on your camera and you're using a kit lens and you zoom in, it's going to get darker. But why? You know what I'm saying? So pay attention to what's happening and why. The reason why, to give you the answer, it's a variable aperture. So again, what I talked about before, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. What happens when we change the aperture? That's that F number, f1.0, f3.5. On the front of a kit lens, for Canon, like it'll say f3.5 to 5.6. So that means when it's at 15 millimeters at its widest setting, it's going to be at f3.5. But because it's a variable, meaning it will change as I zoom in or out, if I go to 45 millimeters and make that as long as it'll go out, it's going to go all the way to that 5.6. So it's like depending on what works for you. So now playing with that just mental picture, if I'm at 15, then I can try to get as blurry of a background as maybe this kit lens will provide. And I'll try to get as much light through the lens to the center on the camera for as best as this lens can do. So knowing the camera's limitation. But what if it is a 35? Then what is it at? And it's like, okay, now the image got darker because the aperture changed. So in our exposure triangle, the aperture changed. Even when we didn't change it and we didn't want it changed. So what can we change? Shutter speed is pretty much, imagine it has a lock symbol on it. We don't probably ever really want to touch that as much as we can avoid it. So the only other thing on that triangle is the ISO. So that means now we need to increase the ISO some because we lost light. So just with even like these random examples and what's what, that's how video works. So if you can keep that triangle in your mind when you're doing something, whether you're indoors or outdoors, you get a patio, back door, or something like that. See what happens when you go from indoors to outdoors. You know, like what happens. So those are cool ways to make those adjustments. So Cindy, you're saying, yeah, all I have is the kit lens. I know I need a different one, but not sure which one. So for me, the way that I use a kit lens to figure out what lens I want to buy, it's like you'll always hear me talk about a 35 millimeter lens. Why do I like that focal length? Because I only need to be a few steps away from the camera for me to get all the stuff that I want in the background. Any wider, it's showing more mess of stuff on my desk that's not important. And I just kind of only want this, or maybe from this bookshelf over here to that other one. But it's like if the other bookshelf is not in the shot, then that's okay. I'm cool with that. So set your lens, like if you're doing live streams or if you're doing videos from your desk or whatever, and for your space, set your lens to what you like it to look like. I decided that this kind of works for me for this kind of a shot. What did the kit lens need to be on? About 28 millimeters to 35 millimeters will kind of get me this shot. It's 35 millimeter lens. Do I care about background blur or not? I was like, yeah, I want some. I don't need all of that to look dizzying blurriness. Like I don't need all that. So what is that, a f1.8, I think, or whatever. I could even use like a f2.8 because that's mostly what the lens is set to for the aperture. And that'll get me a decent background blur. But it could go lower if I wanted it to, but I don't need it to. So that's kind of how I do it with the kit lens. I let the kit lens tell me for the different angles that I want in the office, for the different stuff that I do with my camera for video, what am I adjusting the kit lens to? So I'm looking now, probably something like a 19 or 20 millimeter lens, even maybe 25 or 28, not 28, but something like, I don't know, 16-ish to 20. I'm really thinking maybe a 20 millimeter lens would work, because I've been at a 20 millimeter focal range for some shots that I want using a kit lens. So I let the kit lens help me figure out what my next lens is that I want to buy. So that's how I'll decide on where I go from, versus just like watching whatever everybody suggests. Because as much as I talk about and love 35 millimeter focal lengths, it's not for everybody. This could be not enough space. Like, you need something that is a 15 or 16 millimeter prime lens, because you do need more space. Maybe you're recording in your living room or your kitchen, still want a little bit of a blurry background, but you need the camera closer. You don't have a whole bunch of space. Maybe your kitchen isn't huge or the countertop isn't huge. So it's just like, see what you typically use on your kit lens. Like, how do you zoom it in? Where's that number typically falling? And then go find a lens according to that. And that's how you kind of figure out what works for you from there, versus just like suggestions that people give. That's what I recommend when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I had a couple live streaming tips that I wanted to give, because I am noticing more people getting involved with live streaming now, with everything going on, to continue connecting with their communities. If you had an offline event, bringing that online, just like we were doing for the shoot that I had. I was going to be doing both. We're doing the recorded sessions and then managing the live streams and stuff like that. Obviously, that had to go all the way online, and then we now have to reschedule the date for the online thing. So it's like, no worries. What do we do? How do you be yourself more, especially for us introverts? How do you be yourself more, kind of like turn on, so that you are yourself on camera? The best advice that I could give you is pretend, for the person that you're most comfortable talking to, sharing your corny jokes and stuff like that, imagine you're talking to that person. Because if you're sitting there like, and here's a bad way to do live streams. First of all, you're not looking at the camera, you're looking at the screen. So you're like, okay, everybody, Merry Christmas, have a good day, and hope everybody's doing well. This looks weird, right? I'm not even looking at the camera. It's like, all right, y'all. So welcome to the stream. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but hope everybody's doing well. And yeah, it's just like, that's weird. It's it's weird. So be yourself, at the self that you are when you're with your good friends, because that's who you want. Like, you want the you as if you met that person in real life, or when you meet that person in your community in real life, you want them to feel like it's normal. That still not even turns me off. It's a weird thing. It just feels weird to me. Like, I've met some of y'all in person, and it's like, after a few minutes, after I kind of get warmed up, then it's like, it's fine. But it's just like, it still feels weird, because you have to think, like, how do you know this, that works? You do live stream, watch your content, and listen to your corny joke or whatever. It's just like, so when you get to meet that person, it actually makes it easier. So if you're trying to be yourself on camera, like, just be yourself on camera. Like, that's what it is. So again, look at the lens. Don't look at the screen where you have the whatever, and you're just like, okay, I have to look over sometimes just to see like comments, just like Carlos, good to see you, for Mathematica Humanista. I can follow him on Facebook, actually. He does it in a different language, but it's very energetic. I can say that. It said, dear Diana, just passing by to share some love and appreciation for you and your work. Please be safe there. Be cool. Thanks, Carlos. Appreciate it. Appreciate the love. And glad that you're here. So glad you stopped by. And definitely being safe. Absolutely being safe. So live streaming tips about being yourself is simply about, one, you do have to look into the lens, and being able to, after you do that a couple times, you'll be fine. I promise you'll be fine doing it. You don't need to look at yourself or look up at the screen or over. Like, you're okay to look into the lens. You're not missing anything, right? You can look away as you need to or whatever. It's fine. You'll be okay. Stay focused on what you're doing. So how do you present your information? You can do this a couple different ways. You can either riff off whatever things you kind of want to talk about, which is sometimes what these Friday live chats are about, or just different live chats that I'm doing. It's like I have a topic in mind, just kind of want to talk or open up a conversation around it. And so I like to have what I call like these hybrid version of conversations where I have something I want to talk about. Maybe I hit on that thing or whatever the case is. And then I'll jump over to the comments and I'll bring one of those over and we'll, dialogue on it so that it's a conversation. It's not a monologue. And so sometimes people will do this whole, just waiting for people to show up. Just waiting for people. Poor Cindy, if she was here, for the first, when you first go live, poor Cindy, if she's sitting there waiting, you're like, hey, Cindy, good to see you. We're just waiting for a few more people to show up. 14 and a half minutes later, you're still saying you're waiting for a few more people to show up. Get to the daggone point. Don't nobody care about if more people show up. Honor the people that are there. So if you're getting started with live streaming, get to the daggone point. Because when people hit especially like people are working or people got other stuff going on, maybe they're putting their kids down, whatever the case is, other more important life events are happening for them, even when nothing is going on. Like other more important things are happening. They could just be on the phone. They missed the live stream, whatever. When you start off a stream, hey, what's up, guys? It's Diana. Welcome to the channel, blah, blah, blah. And you start talking. So get to the point. Like, don't do this whole we're waiting for a few more people to show up. It dishonors the people that are there live, and it's annoying to the people that come to the replay. So nobody wins except for you and in your head thinking like, oh man, now I got enough people. Get your life together. So don't do that. The other thing is that, like I said, you can do more of hybrid version conversations, or you could do where you bring comments in, like I'm doing this. So Carlos got the praise hands in the heart. Appreciate you, Carlos. You can bring that in. And so if you are kind of doing a stream, you could have like where I did the stream, I was talking about reclaiming your peace. And that, I don't think, made it to YouTube when I was doing it live. Again, restream.io kind of kicked me in the butt these last couple days. And it's just not working for whatever reason. So you can have where you say hi to the people that are there and you say, I want to jump into the topic. It's like, okay, tip number 1 is going to be, hey, educate yourself. Just take this time to explore your passions, do something purposeful, do something intentional, and learn more about yourself and the skills and develop you and blah, blah, blah are the things that I wanted to talk about around that point number 1, right? And you can hit on that point number 1. As comments come up, so that you have more of a flow, an ebb and flow with your content, say what you want to say. You may see comments popping up. Don't necessarily get distracted on that because you should be looking at the lens, your peripheral vision that you'll see out the side. Yeah, you'll see the comments and then you can say, all right, let's hop over into the chat. And even if you can't bring them up on the screen like this, where you see the person's name and the comment and all that, that's okay. Still just read it off like, hey, Carlos is saying blah, 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 and address that. And then go back to looking at the camera and start speaking. The only way that you are going to get comfortable doing this is to just do it. You will maybe get some sweaty palms or, getting a little bit nervous. I used to a ton. And sometimes, like when I was doing the behind the scenes, it's just like just having the camera going, knowing that there was a live stream of people like looking while I was trying to record those videos. And I still ain't even edit those videos. I will have time to do that now. So it's just like, I was like, man, y'all throwing me off. It's like, you throwing me off because I'm not used to like having to do that in real time. But if I was to do more of that, you'll get more comfortable doing it. The more reps you put in, the more times that you do it. And so it is a law of diminishing return with that. Don't do 72 live streams in 72 hours. That's not enough. It's consistency over time that gets you that skill developed. That's the difference. I'm seeing people go live a lot out of nowhere, and that's fine if you're consistently going to be able to do that. It's consistency over time. And it's like, well, it only takes so many days to develop a habit. Yeah, but account for you. Account for your habits and your whatevers, that go into it. I know sometimes I get tired. I don't, necessarily feel like it or feel up to it. I may not be able to do something. So again, it's the consistency over time that develops that skill or strengthens that muscle. So if you are going to do more live streams, it's not just like you did a ton this week and he's like, yeah, I feel comfortable. Give yourself 30 days off and then do another live stream and you right back to zero. It's consistency over time. So I'd rather it be one stream per week, per month, until you can build up the reps to do it consistently and like you're getting used to it. But don't space it out too much. You could even do 2 streams per week. And you know what I'm saying? If that's comfortable or something that you would want to do. Because as you consistently do that, then you're building up the repetitious memory, you know what I'm saying, muscle memory, so to speak, comfort level in the back and forth. So some people are like, oh, comments throw me off and this, that, or whatever. Well, don't ignore people neither, because you was waiting for a few more people to show up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, don't ignore your people. Give them some love. Show them some love. So address the comments and then go back into it and say, okay, I'm going to hit on the comments after you hit on point number 1. Say what it is that you wanted to talk about. Be okay sometimes, though, with going down rabbit holes. Some people, rabbit holes get, or rabbit trails get just like basically mental deterrence, or it's just like I had that thought earlier in the stream about me freaking out and me like telling the story about being on the 4th floor and there was a fire. That's a rabbit trail. I ain't have to talk about that. But sometimes that stuff is okay. Like, be okay with that sometimes. So sometimes that may happen in the comments or whatever. That's okay. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to hit on point number 2, especially like you're on a time limit. So like I was saying, okay, point number 2 is embrace life-giving online communities, which are actual 2 of the 3 things that I was talking about. And so it's like bring it back off, go into the things that you want to talk about around that, move on. And so some people freak out because they like, well, what if something happens? What if somebody shows up and they're a butthead in the comment? What if, you know what I'm saying, whatever. I feel comfortable enough with some of y'all. I can make you a moderator for the channel so that when I'm doing these live streams, if I'm talking about a topic or I'm saying something that may be controversial or somebody just having a bad day and they kind of want to express that and expel that in whatever, and they just so happen to find your stream that day, which doesn't happen a lot, honestly, for typically anybody just about. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but don't let the what ifs make you afraid. You have the ability to have power and control over your channel and your community. Make somebody that has been there consistently, hit them up saying like, hey, I'm gonna make you a moderator of the channel, or whatever. Somebody come in, throw them a warning like, hey, we don't do foul language in the chat, or whatever. That's warning number 1. Warning number 2, you out. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no 3 strikes around here. It's 2 and out. So it's just like, hey man, told you already, or whatever. Or if somebody comes in and they are not, you know what I'm saying, like you can tell it's kind of edgy, it's going to be a problem, they can block that person or remove that comment or whatever. Your moderators do. You can keep doing what it is that you want to do. So if you got some friends, an assistant, or whatever, or people that are in your community, empower your community. Even if you have a smaller channel, like I have a smaller channel, empower your community. You know what I'm saying? So that for those that show up, you can make like 5 or 6 moderators, so that when you do a live stream or whatever, you don't even have to worry about that. Your community members are empowered to also kind of help mitigate that. And it's just something that sometimes just like a warning, like, hey man, won't curse in the stream or whatever. And like, oh, my bad, I didn't know. And that's it. You don't have to worry about it. It's handled already. But if you don't have that yet, you can still delete a comment and move on. Don't let that throw you off or what have you. So that doesn't happen like too often, or whatever. And then final thing is really just like the 2 different types of streams. You can do where it's straight monologue, presenting the information, tip 1, 2, 3, and then go to the comments at the end. I tend not to really like that, because me personally, unless it is really a produced piece that is like for like evergreen content later. And even still then, I'll give some kind of precursor like, hey guys, welcome to the live stream. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 ways that you can use the Canon M50 for live streaming. And so throughout these 3 tips, at the end of every tip, I'll actually give some time for comments, or you could say the reverse, where it's like, I'm going to go through the 3 tips first and then hit the comments at the end. So if you're just here for the 3 tips, we're going to dig through those really quickly, and then we'll be able to do some Q&A or dive into the conversations around those tips at the end. So as you have people coming in, you can stay focused and do what it is that you wanted to do in like those next 5 to 7 minutes maybe. And then just like, hey guys, see those comments, just quick reminder for those that are just showing up to the stream, even if you're like 5-7 minutes in and you're almost done, like, see those comments so that they know that you're not ignoring them. We're going to get to those in just a second, and then we're going to wrap up, and let's go to tip number 3, final last tip, blah, 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 and then jump into that. So 1, it maintains the integrity of the stream so that you get through those points. And it also honors those people that are coming later for the replay. It honors both parts. I like to do things that honor both people, the people that are there live and the people that are there for the replay. So that way, those that are there watching the replay, they don't have to deal with, 2 minutes of content and 20 minutes of banter. Because they like, dag, man, when is it going to end? It's like, it's 3 tips and out. That's what I'm trying to get. So if that's something that you're a talker or whatever, or you get a lot of community engagement, then do that. This is also okay to do like the monologue thing. Don't worry about, so people like really get hung up. Like on the one I did this earlier, talking about some different stuff around live streaming tips. And it's like, I don't even know how many people came in because I didn't see any comments or whatever. So I don't look at like for real the number of how many people are there or what. I always say, hello, you can drop comments or whatever the case is, because I thought it was going to YouTube and Facebook and it didn't come over here. And so until a comment comes up, going through the monologue version of the content or whatever and talk same kind of thing until a comment comes up or something like that. And so if you're doing a stream, if you're new to live streaming, you don't have where people know what to expect, or they haven't developed a trust or something like that for what to expect with your streams and all of that, that's fine. Get to the tips. Don't like be in this whole like, oh man, like nobody here, so I guess we're gonna have to get to it. Like, come with energy. Maintain that energy and excitement for why you're there and the information that you're giving. Because if you're just there for the clout to have like, oh man, I had 83 people on the stream, it's just like, calm down. You know what I'm saying? It is nice when you do have those streams where you do have some, but it's like, even if you have those where it's a smaller community that's there live, or if you don't have where anybody shows up, that's okay. All are fine. All are acceptable. All are good. So if you have where nobody's there yet, obviously, don't do the whole waiting for a few more people to show up. Don't do the, well, nobody's here, so I guess there's no comments. There's still going to be people that see this on the replay. So dive through the tips or whatever it is that you wanted to talk about. And then you can say, hey, if you're watching this on the replay, I appreciate your time and attention. You can definitely leave comments after the stream because I'll be going through and replying to all of those. So if at any point during the stream you want to drop a comment on something, I'll be able to hit those specific points because I'm giving 3 tips on 3 different things. They may have questions throughout or things that they wanted to talk about or whatever, or maybe they write a big paragraph. Either is fine, but you be open to replying to those also. And then you can make that statement to those that will watch it on the replay and then move on. At the end of the stream, you see that still nobody's there. Fine, no problem. You say, hey, but that's all the tips that we have for today. Thanks for joining us for the stream. I always say, like, now that's like, I appreciate your time and attention. Just again, honor that for however long I'm streaming, whether it's 5 or 10 minutes or whether it's for 50 minutes. You don't have to go long. It could be a 5 or 7 minute stream, and then that's it. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. So it's like, whatever it is, wrap it up, close it out, and be like, all right, guys, thanks for blah, 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 blah. See y'all next week, same time, Tuesday, 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time for the Entree Chats Daily Morning Show. Take care. See y'all later. Bye. End the stream. And move on. So that way, when the replay happens, it comes off like a normal video. It's not like, you know what I'm saying, like, you just dull and, you know what I'm saying, like, it's okay. So, and then the last thing I'll say when it comes to live streaming, kind of like being yourself on camera and all of those different things is also, it makes you a better speaker. It makes you a better presenter. It makes you a better communicator. Because when you're able to articulate your thoughts, speak to something that you know, speak about something that you enjoy or whatever the case is, even if like, excuse me. Even when, so you got stuff like that, like, obviously, if I could have omitted a burp, I would have. Not quite ladylike, but it happens, you know what I'm saying? But it's like things like, well, what if this happens, or what? life happens. If that was a real like one-to-one conversation, you're in a coffee shop or you sitting across from somebody or whatever, stuff like that happens. Say excuse me and move on. It's a stream. I can't cut it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it happens. And so be okay with that stuff. Some people say, oh man, but I stutter. Were you going to stutter or stop stuttering in person, or how does that work? It's just like, no, I stutter in real life. Then get over yourself. Give yourself some grace when it comes to the things that you do, or I'll say names, or I'll pronounce something incorrectly, or maybe I'm being lazy in language. That's okay. Give yourself some grace, because that would happen anyway. Especially sometimes I'll get like names in the chat or whatever, just like, I can't pronounce your name. Tell me how I pronounce or whatever, spell it out or something. And then just like, or whatever, do the best you can to let them know, hey, I don't know, and move on. Or those human-like properties or personality things. Be okay with that stuff. It is okay. But when it comes to just the whole thing of what ifs, drop that completely. Drop it. That will kill your stream before you even get started, or you never will do it. So now we at this time in this place where people are at a place where they just like, I can't not stream now, because there's no way for me to get that human interaction like I could have. Honestly, still pretend, and not even pretend, just imagine the people that you want to connect still have the opportunity to show up on the other side of the lens, per se, for the camera. And that you still are connecting with people in a very honest, realistic way that's still very, very human. And honestly, when the better forms, and I think video is the absolute best way to communicate with people. Pre everything going nuts, it's just like, I think it was still like one of the best mediums of communication. The only other way to kind of like get this is one-to-one, right? And so obviously you got to wait for chat comments and stuff like that to kind of like get replies and, have conversations and dialogue. Unless I say something like I say on Instagram, which is white chocolate is superior in every possible way than dark chocolate, or one of the other things that I always say on Instagram, and that is strawberry jelly is better and superior in every way than grape jelly. I can't say that not one time or anything on Instagram, which I'll say it for fun or whatever. But it's like somebody they can't let that ride. They like, you're doing all right. Stick to the video tips, because when you hit on chocolate now, it's a problem. But it's like, again, it's just me being fun and having fun in the same way that I would in person. Or it's just like, it's just like when you go to a drive-thru, you get a breakfast sandwich or something. It's like, hey, would you like any jelly? There is only one option, and that is strawberry. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is no, so it's like I asked like a question like on Instagram, what did you stock up on right now? What did you go buy at the grocery store? Did you get strawberry jelly or did you get grape jelly? So sometimes like you can ask those kind of maybe polarizing questions, or those opinions or things that you really feel like you can say like nachos or tacos or pizza, like nachos and tacos being one category. It's like, or pizza, it's like, which one is better? So sometimes like those polarizing questions or those polarizing opinions, or I could say brands of cameras, whatever's on brand for you. It's like you could say one or the other, Sony versus Canon, which is better? Or have conversations or stuff like that that is more polarizing. And that can get sometimes community interaction, whereas before you may not get anything. And so it's not kind of like trying to be tricky or nothing, but it's something to where everybody has those things where it's just like, I can't not say something about that. Like, there is no way you're going to tell me that dark chocolate is better over white chocolate. I'm not even, this is not up for discussion. And so I have those fun conversations with friends and stuff like that, or have fun with that on Instagram or whatever, because sometimes it's like, it helps you to get that interaction, where it's like before they may watch it and it's just like it or do one of those reaction buttons. But if it's like a live stream and you come up with something that may be fun, somewhat polarizing, like, honestly, be careful when it comes to things that are like harsh topics, unless you honestly truly want to talk about that, or you feel that like that's important. Like, one I've been kind of thinking about is making a whole video around why I don't think in 2020 nobody should buy a DSLR camera or a Panasonic camera. Just about like, it's probably like 5% of the audience maybe that may be a good, option for them. But I'm like, that's really polarizing. And for people that have a DSLR, they're like, well, dag, is my camera trash? Or what are you saying? And, it's kind of polarizing. But that's a legit opinion that I have. So it's like, making a smart decision of whether or not that's something good to talk about or whatever. But that's kind of one of those topics where maybe before, if you just talked about the benefits of mirrorless cameras, maybe wouldn't get as many replies. But a change on perspective on that being why DSLR cameras are trash, like for video, that is, it's just like you want to know more about that. So it could be sometimes just being a little bit more crafty with your titles and things like that. So when it comes to live stream, there's a couple different ways you can get around things that are more conversational or whatever. It's not being tricky or whatever, nothing like that shady in no kind of way, obviously, but just taking a different perspective. And so there's a lot of different things that you could talk about that, but I definitely will be finishing editing the videos that I've already recorded for the channel and getting those scheduled out and uploaded and scheduled out. And then moving ahead, since I'm getting a lot of questions regarding live streaming, there are a lot of people wanting to know more about live streaming, especially right now. I have several list of videos when it comes to Ecamm Live on how to do some of this setup with stuff that I do here on the streams, even how you can do that as well. So Ecamm Live is extremely cheap, and I'm sorry if you use anything else or if you're a PC user, I don't know what to tell you. Buy a Mac for live streaming. Like, I don't. It's like I don't know what to tell you. It's the best thing since sliced freaking bread. And I think better than sliced freaking bread is white chocolate. And that's where I'm going to end today's Friday live. So thank you for your time and your attention, and thanks for being here. Be safe, have a good evening, rest well, and do something that you love or that will bring you joy today. So with that, guys, live with passion. I'll see y'all on the next video.